All right, welcome to the first presentation entitled Introduction to the Internet. Before the Internet even came about, it had its credit due to other technologies like the telegraph or the computer, the radio even, these early structures and machines that allowed us to communicate with each other. In the 50s, the Russian satellite Sputnik was launched, and not to be outdone, the Americans created their own military agency, if you will, to compete with the Russians. One of those agencies was ARPA, or Advanced Research Projects. In the 70s, the first node or packet of information went out on the ARPANET, and the first computer was invented. In the 1980s, the science begins to use networks. The first use of the internet or networks was military. That was the first use, was in the military. But the science in the 80s, science quickly saw the value of a kind of automated library system. And first domain was registered, and Apple Macintosh was launched in the 80s. In the 90s, of course, the internet becomes commercialized, and we see large corporations like Amazon and Google start to take advantage of the commercial aspect of the internet. This contributed to the first dot-com bubble, which was the advertising and promotional use of clicks and views on the web, on websites. HTML becomes the standard language for the web. In the 2000s, blogging dramatically changes journalism. Napster and spam show the wild, wild west kind of attitude of the early days of the internet, where anything goes attitude prevailed. Facebook and Twitter changed politics, of course, and then, of course, they also changed the way we interact in our daily lives. In the 2010s, the immediacy of Twitter is not just a social networking tool, but one that influences politics. And WikiLeaks, of course, we also see how the openness of the internet can have its downside. Pinterest and Instagram launch. In the 2010s, also by 2013, over half of Americans own smartphones, which dramatically changes how we view the internet. Snapchat, Periscope, other applications or apps like this change the way we see archiving and how we store things on the web. Some technologies used on the internet. HTML is the main language or syntax that the web uses, that browsers read. Dreamweaver was the first program created by Adobe to allow you to create pages without knowing HTML. Flash is a program that was used for 5-10 years by designers to create rich, interactive sites. Steve Jobs and Apple kind of killed off Flash because it's not so great on mobile devices because of security and battery power issues. WordPress is the biggest blogging software out there. Blogger, Tumblr, Squarespace, and others do something similar, but WordPress is probably the biggest browser-based platform. It's also the best CMS system, or content management system, CMS, which is a way that allows you to build a site and send the site to the client and allow them to update and manage their own content through an intermediary interface. Adobe Muse is the program we'll be using. It's similar to Dreamweaver, but even more intuitive, and what you see is what you get really with Muse. When planning a website, you'll need to think about the audience, the purpose, content, compatibility and restrictions, technologies, and of course optimization for Google search, right? SEO is search engine optimization. And if you want your site to be listed on Google, you'll need to optimize it. Design issues include content, hierarchy, right? What do you want them to see first, second, and third? Usability, where do you put the navigation? How condensed, how compacted is it? How concise? How are the colors not just an aesthetic tool, but one that's also functional? Navigation, of course, do you put drop downs? Do you have two navigation spots? The design process is also critical in this class. The first thing you'll be doing is researching, not sketching, not brainstorming. The first thing you'll do is research, then sketch and brainstorm your ideas, and then developing your roughs and finals for the client. Using these methodologies, you'll be better successful at creating a website that's engaging and that functions well for your client.